Hey everyone, welcome back to the Archangel 15. Today I have a video on the Akashic Record. Some of you may have familiarity with this term, others may have no clue to its existence. Let me start off by saying that it has taken me many years of asking continual questions to even begin to understand the magnitude of this concept. My mother is actually the first one that told me about it many years ago, or mentioned it, and I heard her talking about it. And it's one of those things that you think you understand it, but to be honest with you, by the esoteric nature, I don't think anyone really truly can embrace the full conceptualization of the scope of its existence. It's a very broad based term, and if you look it up, you'll see that the definition that comes up is it's a compendium of all past, present, and future events stored on the etheric plane. And you may or may not remember in various presentations I've talked about the etheric plane, and like even just that term is like very broad. You can attain the etheric plane. Like first off, aether. This term of aether or ether spelled like a couple different ways. Ether. There's like chemicals like petroleum ether and other solvents as well, and it's actually very similar to this. I'm gonna get into this later, but then it's basically air or oxygen, like basically one of the building blocks of life, and aether is defined in Greek mythology as the upper level air that gods breathe. So it kind of puts a different spin on it there. It sounds like it's really like a document or something like this, but it's much deeper. It's like I'm going to get into the various ways that you can kind of tune into it yourself. It's essentially the matrix as we know it. This connection of everything through numbers, symbols, signs, and codes. Some people have the ability to attain this information, others don't. And it's very obvious that there's a corollary with genetics and alien bloodlines. Specifically, I've noticed certain people with blue eyes have it more than others. Russian people definitely have it more than others. Russian Ashkenazi Jewish people, regular Jewish people as well. There's like 12 tribes of Jews out there, maybe even more. Asian people as well, Persians, and I'm not covering everybody. People with red hair, maybe. Some documents are actually said to be part of this, or like have like a deeper, like a corollary to this built into their existence. Like the Dead Sea Scrolls is an example. My mother actually just told me about this really interesting phenomenon in China. They're known as the Dropa stones. They look like a circular wheel, almost like a record player, like a record, and it has like this alien-like writing on it. I personally believe that there's like alien tablatures, almost like kind of like the Ark of the Covenant or like the Ten Commandments, where like just by looking at these you can like almost attain like almost like you're being spoken to without being like without reading anything. Like you could like hieroglyphics, like say you had no clue what they meant, but just by looking at it, it speaks to you and tells you certain things. I believe it's like a deeper blueprint for the manifestation of humanity and the human race. There's okay, so I talked about the genetics aspect, how there's like certain people who just seem to have like this ability to tap into this, and there's other ways like you can kind of like I guess attain this information, for lack of better words. It really takes a deeper understanding, like I said, of this etheric plane to conceptualize this. But here's a few notable ways that I've found. This is probably not all of them. Through direct sunlight, just like sitting in direct sunlight. This is kind of could be confused with enlightenment. All of this phenomenon could, like, it'd be almost people would say, oh, this is like paranormal phenomenon, like psychic ability, psi, it's known as parapsychology. And this is a little bit different, to be honest with you. It's like a little bit different of a spin. But through direct sunlight, enlightenment, which if you understand it, it's like basically the electromagnetic spectrum and different like waves of frequency. Certain frequencies, as it is, just like the sound of frequencies, maybe like ones that are outside the scope of human hearing. Various colors, like you see today, I have on like a teal color. Definitely colors that are in between, like almost outside of the color spectrum, between like black and red, or like black and purple. Most notable one that I found is like with just certain sound frequencies. You know, like the piano is pretty amazing. I told you about the calliope. It's really cool. But the E string, the open E string on old violins, it's like really, really, kind of hard to explain. I just recently did a presentation on the harmonics of the World Trade Center towers, and I like did this, corollary to how like this 5/28 hertz fork is almost like the exact same proportionality as the trade towers were. Really, really cool, interesting. Um, you get the point there. I have many other forks, and like some of the weighted ones as well. Some of them are different harmonics of the Schumann resonance, the 7.28 frequency that the Earth vibrates naturally, and various engines as well. Two-stroke. I particularly found it two-stroke engines. If you've ever seen like Yamaha, just like the logo for it, it actually has a tuning fork on it. And if you take like your phone tuner and go to like pretty much any two-stroke motor, you'll see that it vibrates almost exactly at 528. I can't get it like emphasize enough how magical the 528 hertz is. You can almost like tune your motor. Like if your motor's not like running in tune to the like 528, like it's probably not running right if it's a two-stroke motor. Other motors like diesel motors as well. Certain appliances, it's really, really weird. Like sometimes I'll be like sitting in a bathtub and like a vent fan will be running, and just like the vent fans, or like even like a washing machine. Certain cars, just the way they ride. Like obviously this could be built into a deeper aspect of engineering. Engines, when you're flying, like jet engines, planes. Definitely when you're in a plane, it's like about 528 hertz as well in a plane. I may not have mentioned this in the World Trade Center's video, but definitely if you get a chance, look up Secrets of 528 on there's a video on it on here, and not on my channel but on others. Maybe certain sexual aspects as well. Not going to get too deep into that. It has to do with like emotions and deeper, a deeper aspect to the senses, I guess you could say, and almost like maybe like the smell of like another individual. And I've talked about how like even just like playing a violin, like it makes your armpits like secrete like a weird smell, like your body, or like when you're working, or if you eat certain foods. I know that sounds like kind of grotesque, but it's real. Like basically, like the way our endocrine system works, our hormones are sophisticated messengers. It gets really, really deep into the endocrine system, basically. It's like the pineal, the third eye. You get into the Kabbalah. Like that's not really what I wanted to get into. The people who know what I'm talking about already know this stuff. This is kind of like an intro to for people who don't really know what I'm talking about. The water, just like even waves crashing on a beach or being on a boat, and the rocking and rolling of the waves, and like this is the ebb and the flow of the tide. Gets into this like harmony, I guess you could say, of sorts that I've talked about infinite times. Believe it or not, certain drugs like actually can do this as well. Like there's certain drugs that are said to be able to like alter your consciousness, and like I don't want to confuse this with like subconscious like aspects like Edgar Cayce did when he went into his paralytic trances. But methamphetamines is one of them. Like maybe it's because it cleans out your neurological pathways and allows your endocrine system to flow more. Your your neurological function is less inhibited by various things, and these sophisticated messengers as hormones. Alcohol is another one. Alcohol, I really believe that like a lot of the magic behind alcohol is like because it's like it's basically like a solvent. And look, let me go over a couple things here. It's like a solvent. So like like I said, you drink Coca-Cola, you eat foods with gluten in it, you eat foods with corn syrup in it, and all these nasty other things that don't belong in your body, and like metals from the chemtrails, other things they basically bioaccumulate in your brain. And the alcohol flushes them out. It's like a solvent. It's like you could, if you had a paintbrush that was dirty, you would clean it paintbrush or glue or something like that. Methamphetamines, if you look at the ingredients, it's like Drano and petroleum ether, and like it gets into like it's like ether. It gets like it's like not the same ether that I'm talking about, but it's basically like a form of ether. There's a really, really, really funny Simpsons clip. If I remember, I'll post a link to it. Where Mr. Burns and Smithers, he's like, Smithers, give me more E. and so there's like has this ether, and he pours it on a rag, and Mr. Burns sniffs it, and like he gets into this like this wacky trance state, and like Homer goes up to him and says, "Oh, I'm starting a bowling." He knows that he's like really easy to corrupt or influence when he's on it. So like he like asks like, "Oh, I need some money for my bowling league." He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll give you whatever." Kind of funny. I don't really watch The Simpsons later years, but it was really great back in the day. So marijuana a little bit, ayahuasca is a big one in South America. They use it's like shamanic things. The peyote the Native Americans used. I don't know if this is maybe more like parapsychology type stuff, but a big one. And even opioids as well, like poppies, and like other opioids as well. Uh, Opium, a real big one for many thousands of years. So a real big one is fire, and like just looking at fire, being around fire, and particularly the smell of burning wood. It's like this etheric plane. It's like one of the best ways that I can kind of explain it to you is like this, like certain smells, and like when you understand, like fire is just very mythical by nature. Like it's a transformation of like one form of matter to another form, and like there's like things that like are like I guess accumulate in the wood, the sap in the trees, and there's like something very special as well about the sap in the trees. It gets into rosin. I have some violin rosin here. Violin, it's basically a sap. It's kind of like amber as well, but you can't play a violin without rosin. It's like necessary for the frequency and the vibration. And like I'm not saying that that's what it is with the burning wood, but like other things that burn as well. It could be like a cigar. It's like very spiritual by nature, like a real divine aspect to this. Gets into your senses, and once again your endocrine system. And then also, like I said, chemicals. Like just like if I don't know, I did painting for many years, and just like the smell of paints, like especially the older paints, like kind of like tap you into this. Like you say, oh well, that just makes you wacky. You don't, it's not the same thing. You're probably high, or it's like a hallucinogenic thing. No, but like actually, like there's certain thinners and solvents. Maybe it's because it's cleaning out your neurological pathways. I don't know, but particularly the petroleum ether. And I'm not telling you to go sniffing petroleum ether, but like if you're like, there's two different types. There's high flash proof and low flash proof. If you want to try, if you do want to try, you got to go to like a higher end paint retailer. I'm not going to mention any names. There's only like they're basically all owned by the same company. You can kind of catch my drift there. But the low flash proof is the one that like I guess you can like light it and it'll combust. The high flash proof is like more of a commercial product for like it's like I guess less flammable. Wicked stuff. There's this other stuff called goof off. Pretty crazy. Albert Einstein was one of the most notable people like that was into this whole concept, and like this is like gets totally into my whole what is time video that I just did, and I did that video. It was like 20 minutes or so, and I was like, how did I not mention the Akashic Record, like this whole thing in the past, present, and the future? But I was very happy with that video, and like you see, I'm already in 13-15 minutes in now, so like I felt like compelled to dedicate a separate video just to this. Nikola Tesla, possibly another one. He was actually known to have communications with the Dark Knight satellite. I'm not going to get into that. It's kind of, I guess, conspiratorial. Gets into other stuff, like other entities as well. But like the Dark Knight satellite supposedly exists in orbit, and like I guess certain people can tap into it, like almost like speaks to them, like tells them certain stuff. And there's this really interesting device called the Anacathum, something like that. I read about it in a book. It's like nobody really knows what it is or what its purpose was. It's like some type of a mechanical mechanism that measures time. They believe it was to like basically tell like future solar and astral events like eclipses, and also like to like the control, or like to tell when the every 4 years for the Olympiad, something like that. Nobody really knows, like I said, what it is. But it's like I don't even think anybody really knows how old it is. But if you don't know, if you've never heard of the Anacatheum, please look it up. It's like one of the coolest things, like divine aspects of anthropology. It's like I said, this shipwreck in Greece, it's like probably thousands of years old. And again, it gets into this whole concept of time being an illusion. And by the way, I said that like that's not a term that I coined. It's actually something that Albert Einstein I think first mentioned, or he's giving credit for that term, time being an illusion. So I wanted to clarify on that. And this is, like I said, very much so correlated to parapsychology and paranormal phenomenon. And I truly believe that the people who do have this ability can either use it for good or bad purposes. And like the best really example for this, like okay, you could use it for like say you were a detective or something like that. You could use it to like kind of like attain certain information, for detective work. Then say a bad example would be to use it for like personal self-interest, like like stock trading or something like this. And I'm sure there's plenty of examples of both. I'm not really going to get into that. You can kind of use your own imagination. I truly believe that many people can tap into this, and it's not just like intended for a select few. Like it really like there's probably like it's almost like my mother. She's actually said that she believes that like it's everybody can tap into it. Whether that's true or not, I mean, I've kind of believe otherwise. I just have seen certain people that really display no abilities of like divine aspects of like of this phenomenon. Maybe they just don't care. They're just like kind of like on a controlled continuum. But it's very, very, very evident as to why they wouldn't want people to be able to attain this Akashic record. It's like, and like this is true, totally why they vaccinate people. Use plastic water bottles with petrochemicals in them. The pharma poison they feed people, they give people. The ELFs emitted by cell phone towers, power lines, our electrical infrastructure, Wi-Fi. Totally interferes with our brain waves and neural conductivity. The elites want to keep and hoard this information for themselves. It's almost like a drug, I guess you could say. And they do not whatsoever like people tapping in to the curve of future events. Trust me on this. Like they do not want people knowing the future. They want everybody on a controlled continuum where you turn on the news, you're force fed some BS stories, that they have prepackaged that have gone through like 3 or 4 government agencies and like other quasi governmental people, I guess you could say, or entities. And if you do have ability to tap into this, you'll eventually realize really, really fast that the United States of America, basically is like the cancer of the earth. Like I don't want to sound anti-American here. There's a lot of good people in this country, in our government, other places as well. But like if you have this ability, you'll find out very fast that like we're pretty much not the good people here. Like anybody that flies an American flag, is probably either just very naive, maybe an old timer, like I don't begrudge anybody for showing patriotism, but it's really probably not good in the broader sense. The divide it creates, and I can see where people take offense to it around the world, given our track record, perpetual lies, greed, and misinformation, other things as well. A lot of these people that fly the American flag, they're basically elites, or they're shills for the elites. You don't even see many of the elites that fly the American flag. Like I mean, go down to like a rich area and like tell me if you see rich people have an American flag in their yard. It's like the middle, what's left of the middle class and the lower class people, and it's like basically people that are shills for a communist slave agenda that dehumanizes the general populace. So I hope you found this video to be of some value. It went on a little bit longer than I had originally planned. And again, please feel free to leave your comments. I am going to be taking a break here soon. I did like 4 or 5 videos after I originally said that. I have one more that I want to do. And like I said, I'll probably just take a little chill for a while. I've pretty much encompassed a lot of this stuff that I've wanted to do. I originally had one. There was like kind of a request on population control, and like just with everything going on, I'm not going to really get into that. It's kind of built into my other videos. But if you do have any videos you'd like me to speak on, please feel free to leave a comment, and I'll see if I can accommodate your requests. Take care, folks.